Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Mafex VENOM. This is the reissue, and that's why I'm reviewing it. I never got one the first time, and I thought it'd be a good idea to review it. Maybe you guys are wondering if you should get one. Now, the reason I didn't get one the first time is I heard a lot of people saying he was too small. And I was like, well, I don't want a small VENOM, so I'll just pass. But I got Magneto relatively recently, and he was a lot chunkier than a lot of the other Mafex figures. And I'm thinking this VENOM might be too. That's what I was thinking when I ordered it. It is. It's fairly chunky, and I think it might be big enough. I think I maybe shouldn't have listened to the people I listened to, but we're going to dive into it. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, before we look at the figure, I do want to show you my package. I actually like the package a lot. I'm not sure why it's purple, but it looks nice. It's good. There's some artwork there that makes the figure look nowhere near as good because it doesn't match this at all, which is probably the best version of VENOM. Question of the day, which version of VENOM is your favorite? For me, it's that. I like that a whole bunch, and this figure's close, but not quite. Alright, so the box is pretty much standard fare for Mafex. Nice packaging, nothing too crazy. This is a pose. You know, I see these people on Instagram, and there's a lot of really good action figure posing on Instagram, but then there's also ones where it's like, you broke his leg. Like, just, his foot's pointing in the opposite direction of his knee, and that's not how that works. So don't do that. It doesn't work. Just make him look normal. But yeah, it's, there's some crazy stuff on Instagram. Decent package, some crazy stuff on there. So, this guy, he's bigger than I thought he would be. That's what she said. Okay, so he stands about 6 and, let's say, 3/8. That's going to give him a height of about 16.25 centimeters. Here he is up against who you might want to compare him against. Spider-Man. He's not significantly bigger. He is bigger. He is a lot broader. I think it's acceptable. I do think he should be bigger than he is. This version's not supposed to be huge, but he should be bigger. I mean, bigger than he is, but he is bigger than Spider-Man, so I think it's good enough. If that's your only concern, it's good enough. But there are other concerns, so we're going to get into that, but we'll do, of course, the obligatory Darwin comparison. So here he is up against Marvel Legends Darwin. Okay. I do want to mention this guy is in stock at Big Bad Toy Store, so is his brother Carnage. If you guys want to pick these up, I'll have a link in the description below, particularly the one for VENOM, and I will be reviewing Carnage, probably. I'll be filming it this week. I don't know when I'll upload it, but I will be reviewing both, and they are both available right now at the link in the description below. Let's dive into this guy. First thing I noticed when I got him out of the package is he has blue paintwork on him, and it's way less noticeable on camera than it was to the naked eye. He has like airbrush blue throughout, except it's not all the way throughout. It's very not much there on his head and his hands, and his crotch has a little bit less, but his head and hands are significantly blacker than the other black parts. I think if we zoom in, you'll get a better idea. Let me do that. Yeah, I think you can see the difference in the finish on the hands in there. There's almost no blue on the hands. Some of the interchangeable accessory hands are a little bit more blue, but not that much. And then for the head, I think you can see that he doesn't have very much on his head. So, depending on your lighting, that may be a big deal. Maybe you can see it right there. I don't know, did the first one have that problem? I don't remember hearing anybody talk about that. So be aware, he may be mismatched. But also, Mafex is not completely consistent. I reviewed that Ben Affleck Batman the other day, and people said, I don't have the same problem with the arms that you have. So I bought another one, and it was an entirely different color. The exact same release, but it was way darker and didn't have the problem with the arms that mine had. But it had other problems, so I couldn't keep it. But anyway, they're inconsistent, so there's no way to say. But otherwise, his paints are pretty clean. Like, I do like the blue shading. It's good enough, where it is, at least. And then the spider logo is sculpted and painted definitely well enough. It's not like the most wonderful thing ever, but for Mafex, it's good. And that's probably good enough. The hands are okay. And then the head sculpts are probably the best VENOM head sculpts out there. They're sculpted well and painted well, and I don't think there's much in the way of needing there. For this version of VENOM, I'm very pleased with that. I mean, you could always go a little bit more dramatic, I think, with VENOM, but it's good enough. And then overall proportioning on this guy, not bad. I think the hands could use to be just a touch bigger. That would make him look even bigger, but they're not like tiny. But I think for VENOM, a little bit of a stylized hand wouldn't be a bad thing. But yeah, generally speaking, he looks pretty good. He doesn't have as bad of the knock-knee situation that we see quite often. I'll show you right here. Don't like the knock knees. And really, I don't know why that's a thing for them, because they don't really need to be there. The way it's done, they have to be sculpting it in that way, so it's really, really weird. But otherwise, it's good. Yeah, the musculature is pretty good, except for one thing, and that would be the shoulders. And I thought maybe it's like Spider-Man and the shoulders are on the wrong sides. I don't think so. They're really weirdly shaped. They stick out back here a lot. And you can't tell until I go like this, and then you can see that weird lump that sticks out the back. That's very strange, and I don't think it would look better sticking out forward. It's just a really weird sculpt. You probably won't notice it too much once posed, but it's still weird. It's very weird, but otherwise, it's very good looking. So I'm gonna say 7. The paint issue is a problem, and there's a little bit of weirdness going on here and there, but otherwise, it's pretty good. If the paint issue isn't a problem, you could easily give this guy a higher rating. Alright, now as far as accessories go, he has the open mouth head. That looks really good. We have the closed mouth head. That looks really good also. We have a good smattering, is that a word? I think that's a word, of hands. And also some feet, because we have a set of hands and feet that are magnetic, so that's fine. We have a good spread of webbing, and then we also have this unmasked head that looks nothing like Peter Parker. Because it's not Peter Parker, and it's a really good head sculpt. I think that's fine. It's good paint job, it's good everything. I'm okay with that. It's perfectly acceptable for this line. Slightly cartoonish, but that's what they're going for, or you might say comic-ish. So that all looks really good. And then, of course, you get the Mafex display stand. I think that's a really good spread of accessories. I can't think of anything I really need for this guy, so I will say 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. It's not impressing me, but it's good enough. Alright, so let's see if he can pose. Mafex is supposed to be able to pose well, and they usually can outside of the hips, so let's see if he's good. Alright, so ball pegs in the head and neck. His neck is stuck right now. Let's move that. There we go. Yeah, his head moves well. It's a little bit chunky in the neck area. You know what? Let me do this. That neck didn't want to move. Sometimes you just have to pop a head off to move a neck. I don't think we need the bent barbells. They do that in order to give you better lean back. I don't really care for that because it gets twisted sideways and it's a nightmare, but it does move well, so that's good. Very pleased with that. For the shoulders, they're kind of like Nightwings. They're very like Nightwings. They just move all over the place. Really, really well done for the shoulders. These are some of the best shoulders. They don't sacrifice too much, and they give you pretty good range. They're probably pretty expensive to do, but they are very functional in terms of that inner shoulder joint. The outer is just your standard ball hinge, so that's going to work. No problem, that's good. Bicep swivel is fine. Really weird shoulders. I'm curious. I didn't want to pop everything off. It wouldn't look better having them go forward. That would look super weird. So yeah, these shoulders are just strange. I don't want the lumps on the forward part. On the front would be the right way to say that. Even if they're supposed to be there, this definitely would be better to hide them back there. So weird. Double jointed elbow, really good range. That's a pretty good elbow. Not the best looking thing because they do these weird, they're not weird. The design's fairly standard, but the way they implement it is you get these kind of skin flaps on the sides of the joints. So it's not the smoothest transition, but it's still a good elbow, good range. And then the wrists are little ball hinges, so, pretty good range there. For the torso, let's see. Can he torso? Leaning back at the top joint is not bad. It's not the most range we've ever seen and gets kind of chunky and gappy, but it's okay. Leaning forward, quite limited on that top joint, and side to side should be pretty good. Yeah, it's decent. All right, and then rotation is there. So using the bottom joint in conjunction with the top joint, we get gappy, but it does lean back, and it does lean forward pretty well. So that's okay. It's not the smoothest. They didn't spend a ton of time tweaking it, but it's okay. And it's functional enough. And then, of course, leaning to the side is going to be good. So yeah, that's good. It's a pretty good torso setup. It's probably not the best thing we've seen, but it's one of the good ones. All right, and then for the hips, we have the drop downs. Unfortunately, Mafex will not stop using those. So that's where they are when they're up in there. If we pull them down, normally pulling them down doesn't help. And it doesn't really help here either, going out to the side. It's only about 45 degrees, maybe a touch over. So that's pretty limited there. And then going forward, using the drop down, which you have to use, you can get the leg up pretty high. Does kick out to the side. Gonna get awkward using this. You have to bring it like that, but then you can't do like you can with Marvel Legends. I know I'm saying something nice about Marvel Legends. Bringing the leg like this on a Marvel Legends figure, here, I'll show you. If you bring the leg up like that on a Marvel Legends figure, you can then rotate it, and give yourself extra splits. Now, Darwin's not the best example, but look at that. Now his leg is all the way up to the side, but like it just raised that way because you have a thigh swivel. Because of the way Mafex does it, you don't get a thigh swivel. Not really. And so you are much more limited on the legs with the Mafex figures, and I think they really need to redo that type of joint, especially for the Spider-Mans. And I think we could use some new Spider-Man figures from Mafex, frankly. But you do get a thigh swivel, technically. It's in there at the socket. You just can't use it the way that you can for other figures. Double jointed knee works nicely. It's a good looking leg, no problem there. Proportioning is pretty good. Sometimes they screw that up a lot. This one is fine. And then for the ankles, so they come off too easily. That's because of the interchangeable magnetic feet. They go back far enough and forward. That's getting ready to come off again. Forward far enough. That's way too loose. Don't like that. Maybe throw some tape on that peg to make it a little tighter. An impermanent fix. That way, if it doesn't go well, you can just take it off. Ankle rocker is okay. And the toe hinge is actually one of the better toe hinges. It's almost the full thickness of the foot, so there's no weird shelving. And it's well placed, and it's fairly stiff. So, yeah, pretty good. Not bad. The articulation is not bad. It is not as good as it should be, but it is pretty good. And a lot of him is really good. I'd say the upper body is pretty darn solid. Hips kind of low, but otherwise, it's all right. So I will give his articulation, I'm going to say only 8, because for a Spider-Man character, Spider-Man-like character, like Venom, I think hips are really, really important. So that is a problem. So, time for the final verdict on this release. Am I happy with it? Well, I'm happy with it on paper. The execution is what's killing me. The paint job, like right now, it's so not noticeable that I don't care. I kind of forgotten about it. But to the naked eye, not in the studio lights, it was obvious that that blue was missing on the hands and head. So that's a big problem for me. Otherwise, I don't mind the setbacks as much. Like, I'm used to Mafex having bad hips, so whatever. I'm used to them not being as big as they could be, so whatever. This is all subjective stuff, personal stuff. So personally, I really like it aside from the paint issue, and I've forgotten about it because of the lighting. But as a reviewer, the paint issue is a thing. He is probably too small by a little bit, and his hips do suck. So I have to include all of that in my final assessment. It's still good otherwise, and it has a good spread of accessories. So I'm going to say, I think I have to say 7, just because of that paint issue, but if you don't have the paint issue or don't care as much or will be happy to repaint it, which you could fairly easily do, you could go higher for sure. There's a lot to like about this figure, and the collector in me is wanting to go higher, but the reviewer is like, nope, 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 nope. We have to be fair, and they have a lot of problems, and they're not cheap figures. Or this has kind of a lot of problems, and it's not a cheap figure. But I do like it personally. I'm happy to have it in my collection. Will I repaint it? I don't know. Let me know what you guys have found with the paint jobs on yours. Maybe I just need to order another one and hope for better luck. But yeah, it's still pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to stick with 7 as a reviewer. As a collector, I like it a whole bunch, but those issues are there. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But that's it for me, so thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos every single day, though after Christmas, we may be missing a few days here and there, maybe around the New Year time. I don't know. I'll try not to. But if I do have thousands of videos already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.